Sales jobs are jobs that I respect when people do it. When someone is capable of selling, I have a lot of respect for them, but I just can't do it. There was actually this one period of my life that I completely forgot about until recently when someone called me and they were trying to sell me insurance. For whatever reason, they got my information, and as they were trying to pitch me, I could have sworn I recognized the guy's voice. And as I started to interpret whether or not I recognized this guy's voice, it took me down memory lane. Roughly 2 to 3 years ago, I got my insurance license where I was capable of selling insurance to different groups of people. My main target were wealthy entrepreneurs who didn't have a company to utilize their insurance plan, so they could use my company's insurance plan. We were looking for wealthy individuals, contractors, realtors, etc. And I just remember walking into that sales environment, and it was one of the most unique things that I ever seen. These people, they're wearing suits. They're always energetic. They have this growth mindset. I recall when I first started, my boss, he came to me and he said, "Hey, Arman, I need you to come in 1 to 2 hours earlier." I asked him why. He said, "Well, early on, we have a thing called role playing sessions where we go in and we are handling objections. So, what you need to do is you need to understand your script inside and out. And when we are there in the morning, we are going to test you to see how well you know your script. As you are trying to go through your script, there's going to be one of your coworkers, the other salesman, who's creating objections. And you need to find creative ways to navigate around those objections. Doesn't that sound fun?" I thought, hell no, dude. I don't want to do that. I don't want to come in early and have to deal with all these objections. So with sales jobs, you can't really ever be sleepy. You always have to be alert. There's always these meetings going on. You always have to deal with objections. You always have to keep on dialing, dialing, dialing. So I eventually went to one of these early meetings and I was super nervous because I didn't know my script like that. Someone asked, "Any volunteers?" And my boss volunteered me. So now I pull out my script. I'm trying to read it. I'm reading it in a very uncomfortable voice. And the other person, he just creating objection after objection. And I'm finding different ways to navigate around it. "Oh, you don't want it because it's too expensive." And I'm supposed to have these other things memorized where whenever there's an objection, I know how to rebut that. Because there's a lot of information that you need to sift through. And I said, "Oh, well, it's too expensive." And I'm just saying, because I didn't remember the other information that I was supposed to learn. So after all that thing was done, everyone's looking at me kind of embarrassed for me. I'm embarrassed at myself. And then this salesman, he's critiquing me. He says, "Armani, you got to deliver this with confidence. You need to understand your information. I know you're only 4 days in, but you need to memorize it." I said, "Okay." So that day, I had to dial at least 100 calls. And a lot of people, they don't pick up. A lot of people, they are saying, "What the F do you want?" And a lot of people, they are teetering. It's as though they think they want the product, but they really don't. They're giving you false hope, and then they abruptly hang up on you. You call back, and they're not picking up. This is what they're dealing with. And this was something that I couldn't deal with. The thing with these sales jobs is that they are always in growth mode. They are always attending these conferences. They are always constructively criticizing each other. They are always dressing in suits. And that just wasn't me. Some of the top performers, they were making 250K a year. And the newbies would often sit with the high performers to get motivated. But it just was not for me. One of the top performers, her and I, one day we were talking, and she was supposed to be the team lead. And she was asking me what my goals were. And I wanted to say it in a politically correct sort of way. And she said, "Arman, you could just say that you want to make more money." And I said, "Oh, I didn't want to say it like that because I thought I was supposed to give one of these metaphysical answers." She said, "No, do you just want to make more money?" I said, "Yes." She wrote it down. And she said, "That was the exact reason that I came here." And her name was Anais. She was one of the top performers, really great at her job. And she would always be a top performer. And I asked her what her secret was. She said the first year or two, she did not do a great job, but the company did not give up on her. Where with a lot of sales jobs, they will often give up on you. With her, they didn't give up. And that motivated her to do great in her third and fourth year. She crushed it. She started to figure out her own process. She started to say, the more that you invest in your business, Arman, the more the sales business will invest in you. You will eventually figure it out. The thing with the sales script is that right now you hate it, but eventually you are going to keep on reading it, reading it, reading it, performing it, performing it, performing it, and you're going to know this so freaking well. The first bunch of times you're only going to get through one line before the other person hangs up on you, and then later on you're going to be able to get through two lines, and you will notice that you will consistently get through those two lines before they hang up on you, but at least you're making progress. As more time goes on by, you're going to be able to get through a paragraph, two paragraphs. You're going to be able to deal with the objections super smoothly, and that is how you are going to rise in this company. And then she told me a very important piece of information that would eventually sway my decision. She said, Arman, with sales, you are always starting over. Last month, I generated over $500,000 worth of business for the company. And this month, I'm just starting over because I still haven't gotten a sale. And if I don't get any sales for this month, then my boss is going to be breathing down my neck. So you have to have that perspective with sales. People are always growing because they have no other choice. And as I heard this, I felt a little inspired, but at the same time, I had clarity. I knew that this was not something that I wanted to do. I respect salespeople, but I would never want to be in sales. Because the thing with sales is that a lot of the times on TikTok and these YouTube videos, they try to glamorize it. They show you the output, but what they don't show you is the dark stuff. I mean, there are so many people just cursing you out. There are so many people hanging up on you. There are so many people giving you false hope. There are so many times that you have to log into work early. And this is one of the times that I learned that you need whiny coworkers. Because within this insurance company that I work for, everyone just wanted to keep on working and working. There were people who said, hey, during Thanksgiving, we should be working some more because there was some sort of insurance plan going on around Thanksgiving or Christmas break. Why not work for both? And these people were suggesting bringing sleeping bags so they could just bring their sleeping bags and work, work, work. And there were no whiny employees. If you were a whiny employee in that particular company, you would get fired. But whiny employees come in clutch for companies, mainly because whenever people are suggesting, "Hey, let's bring our sleeping bags and go to sleep at work," the whiny employees they say, "How about we don't do that?" And due to that pushback, now it's creating some resistance to this silly idea. With sales, it's not really a silly idea. If you work a 40-hour week job and you get predictable payments coming in, then you don't have to worry about something like this. But if your job it's completely based on performance, then doing sleeping bags, calling, eating pizza at work, it seems like the smart thing to do. Sales was never going to be for me. I would rather make $150,000 in an engineering position rather than $400,000 in a sales job. Because with that $400,000, it's not always guaranteed. With sales, you could sometimes make $400,000. You can make $25,000. It's nothing's guaranteed, and sometimes you need guarantees in life, especially if you are building your own business. Now, if sales is your only business, then I get it. I mean, there are sales professionals out there, but sales professionals, just like anything, they are trying to market a life to you that doesn't fully represent what life really is like within that field. You're going to have to be cold calling a lot. If you get warm leads, that's good, but you may sometimes have to pay for those leads. People don't talk about all of this. How salespeople recruit is that they will fire off a bunch of LinkedIn positions, Indeed positions, Monsters positions. There are different people that will see these positions. They will see wow, base salary of $85,000. I'm employed right now. How about I go there? Then they go, then they see they're not getting interviewed by themselves. There are a bunch of other people getting interviewed at the same time. A bunch of people are in this similar conference room. There's a salesman that goes up and they start to talk about all these big checks that they got, how they were one time struggling and now how they are making all this money. And this big group of people, they're just looking at all those dollar bills. These salesmen, they're saying, this check right here is from a guy who just started 2 weeks ago. So, someone in this room right now, 2 weeks from now, you could also be getting a check like this. The check is for $7,000. What they're showing you are the outliers. Now, I'm not trying to unmotivate you, by the way. If you're someone that started a sales job, I highly recommend you give 110%. But I do know people that think that this $7,000 is going to be for them. That's not always the case. When I was working in the insurance company, I was talking to different people to see how much they make. And one thing with sales positions is that people are super transparent with how much they make, even if they don't make that much. I would always go to the low performers too and ask, hey, how much are you making? And they'll say something like, bro, I made 150 bucks this week. 150 bucks? And they'll try to justify it. Yeah, dude, it's just because I began this recently and eventually I'm going to get better like Ananias. So right now, for this time being, they're making $150 a week, if even, and then they're going to hopefully make more money. That's not guaranteed. So they better have money saved because they're going to be going through their savings account for some time.